It began on a day that was supposed to be peaceful, a day that should have passed quietly like any other in the vast galaxy. But instead it became the day every species learned just how dangerous silence could be. The Galactic Council Hall, an enormous floating chamber built from silver stone and glowing energy, was packed with delegates from hundreds of worlds, their colorful bodies moving, their eyes filled with judgment, their voices rising like a storm as they surrounded one single figure standing alone at the center podium. The human ambassador, Elias Ward. He carried a face that had aged too fast, the kind of tired sadness found only in someone who has spent years trying to keep peace among people who refused to understand. The screens above lit up with explosions, showing footage of burning ships, destroyed outposts, and shattered colonies. The Council screamed that Earth had launched a secret attack, that humans had broken treaties, that humanity had become a threat to the galaxy. They played fake reports, manipulated footage, altered data. Every lie crackled through the speakers, and every species watching across thousands of worlds believed what they saw. They shouted over each other, "Humans are unstable. Humans are reckless. Humans are dangerous." The hall shook from the noise. But Elias did not shout back. He did not raise a hand. He did not defend himself. He only looked slowly around the room, at faces that once called humans allies, and he saw nothing but betrayal staring back at him. The High Chancellor slammed his staff onto the floor, silencing the room. His voice boomed across the chamber. Earth is hereby sanctioned. Terran fleets must stand down. Terran research must submit to supervision. Terran borders fall under Council control. Gasps erupted. Some species cheered. Others watched nervously. Everyone waited for the human to protest. But Elias Ward simply bowed his head. "Earth will remember this day," he whispered. His voice was so soft that many delegates didn't even hear it. But those who did felt something tighten in their chest. Not anger, not despair, something colder. Something that felt like a storm waiting far beyond the horizon. And then the human walked out. No arguing. No shouting. No diplomacy. Just quiet steps echoing down the empty hall as the Council laughed behind his back. But as he reached the transport pad, he paused and looked up at the stars through the glass dome above. For the first time in many years, his face hardened. He whispered something only the stars could hear, "You pushed us too far." And at that exact moment, in thousands of human colonies, something strange began to happen. Not chaos. Not war. Not retaliation. Silence. A terrible, unnatural, suffocating silence. Every human network shut down. Every Terran communication beacon turned off. Human embassies across the galaxy closed their gates and locked their doors. Traders left stations early. Scientists abandoned their labs. Human ships quietly departed from neutral zones with no explanation. The Council called it an act of surrender, Earth sulking like a child. They mocked the humans even more, saying, "Typical emotional species, they cannot handle responsibility. They hide because they fear us." But beneath the surface of their mockery, a strange unease began spreading among the older Council members. Because silence was not a human habit. Humans argued. Humans debated. Humans fought loudly. Humans protested. Humans never stayed silent. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. The first signs came from a long-abandoned Terran station hidden inside a nebula. Old engines, dead for centuries, suddenly came online. Ancient generators hummed. A forgotten satellite deep in the Oort cloud flickered to life. Council listening posts picked up strange readings from under Earth's crust. Massive energy signatures rising slowly, steadily, like something sleeping for thousands of years was stretching awake. But the Council dismissed it, telling themselves these were malfunctions. Yet the readings grew stronger. Old Terran defense stations that had rusted for ages began rotating again, their cannons humming as power coursed through them. Human factories that had been shut down lit up one after another, their alarms ringing with life. Deep inside Mars, an old bunker sealed since before the last war began to vibrate. On Neptune's moon Triton, a massive metallic shell burst through the icy ground, revealing a structure so old and enormous that even human historians had forgotten it existed. Why are Terran systems activating? Several council scientists asked. Why are these old machines waking up? No one had answers, but Earth offered no explanation. No messages. No signals. No warnings. No threats. Just silence, chilling, deliberate silence. Meanwhile, in the dark vacuum between systems, thousands of human ships changed formation. They did not move toward council worlds. They did not fire weapons. They simply adjusted their alignment, like chess pieces sliding quietly into place, preparing for something the galaxy could not yet understand. Their energy signatures were low, too low, like the calm heartbeat of a predator before it leaps. The council began to panic. Are humans planning war? What are they hiding? What are they preparing for? But still, Earth remained silent. The council ordered deep scans of Terran space. Probes were sent. Drones deployed. But every probe vanished. Every drone went dark. Every ship that crossed too close to the border froze mid-scan and drifted silently until human drones towed them away without a single shot fired. This frightened the council more than an attack ever could. Because humans had never shown such control. Silent, precise, intentional control. On the fourth day after the sanction announcement, whispers spread across the galaxy. Something is happening on Earth. Terran space is changing. Human fleets are waking up. Then the signal arrived, one short burst of data that reached every corner of the galaxy. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't even a word. It was a color. Red. A red light flashing from an ancient Terran beacon that had not activated in 600 years. A beacon the council had forgotten. A beacon only a few human elders even remembered. A beacon tied to a code name that chilled the blood of anyone who recognized it. Crimson Sky. The council chambers erupted into chaos. Shut it down. Trace the source. Find out what Crimson Sky means. But they could not trace it. They could not stop it. And they could not understand it. Because Crimson Sky was not a weapon. It was not a fleet. It was not a project. It was an answer. A silent answer to betrayal. The universe had wronged humanity. And humanity had chosen silence. Not surrender. Not fear. Preparation. The council tried to speak to Earth, but every message bounced back. Their diplomats demanded an audience. Denied. Their generals requested neutrality talks. Ignored. Their admirals sent warnings. Muted. The council sent spy ships to the edge of Terran space. Every ship returned frozen in space, systems completely shut down, with not a single human shot fired. Fear spread like wildfire now. Because whatever Earth was preparing, it was big. It was ancient. And it was coming. Yet Earth still said nothing. Earth did nothing. Earth only waited. Humans worked quietly inside their borders, preparing something the galaxy could not see. Then, on the seventh night, every star near Terran space dimmed for a moment, just a brief flicker, but enough to make entire galaxies shiver. The council demanded answers, but there were none. Only silence. That horrible, suffocating, unshakable silence. The kind that comes right before a storm that will change everything. And in that silence, one truth finally settled into the hearts of every species watching. Earth was no longer reacting, Earth was retaliating. The truth behind the accusation began unraveling slowly, like a wound reopening after years of pressure, and it happened in the darkest corners of the galaxy where secrets lived and empires whispered. A young analyst from the neutral Arcanine Republic stumbled across encrypted data fragments that did not match the Council's official report. At first, she thought it was a mistake, wrong signatures, wrong timestamps, wrong heat patterns. But the deeper she dug, the more horrifying the truth became. The footage the Council used to blame Earth had been altered. The destroyed colony shown in the broadcast was not Terran-made. The weapon signatures matched another species entirely, an empire known for manipulation, deceit, and cowardice, the Drath Syndicate. They had staged the attack and blamed humans to weaken Earth's growing influence. The analyst tried to report her findings, but her supervisors silenced her, telling her, "Do not interfere in Council decisions." But she knew what it meant. Someone inside the Council already knew. Someone was hiding the truth. Someone wanted Earth framed. And that someone was powerful, deeply connected, and willing to let humanity burn for their own gain. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, humans silently packed their things. Terran diplomats boarded ships. Families left colonies where they had lived for generations. Entire scientific communities locked away their research and vanished into warp space. No anger. No shouting. No violence. Just quiet acceptance. Quiet preparation. Quiet retreat. But beneath every human's calm face lived a storm of betrayal. Betrayal so deep that words could not express it. In a human embassy on the planet Viserion, a small girl asked her mother, "Why are we leaving?" The mother knelt, holding her daughter close, her voice barely steady. "Because they don't want us here anymore." The girl frowned. "But we didn't do anything wrong." And that sentence, simple, innocent, devastating, spread across every human heart like a knife twisting deeper. They had done nothing wrong. They had tried to help. They had kept peace. They had followed laws. But the galaxy had chosen fear over truth. Up in orbit, human ships waited with engines humming softly, not in battle mode but in evacuation formation. Colonists boarded silently, carrying bags of memories, photos, journals, old toys, things that would never matter to the Council but meant everything to the people forced to leave. And in every human's eyes, that same unspoken message lingered: we will not forget this. Yet the galaxy continued celebrating Earth's punishment. News stations mocked humans. Influencers laughed at Terran technology. Council delegates gave smug interviews insisting that Earth had been put in its place. But even as they cheered, something inside human space answered back. Subtle movements only scanners could detect. A moon-sized bunker on Mars shifted its outer plates, revealing old launch ports. The abandoned shipyard on Europa flickered to life. The deep-sea base in the Pacific reopened. Long-dormant AI cores hummed with energy. And in the shadows beneath Earth's deserts, enormous metallic doors that had been sealed for centuries trembled as pressure built behind them. The Council saw the signs but pretended not to. Admitting Earth was preparing meant admitting the Council was wrong. Admitting the Council was wrong meant losing power. And they would rather risk war than risk losing authority. Meanwhile, more evidence emerged, this time from an independent scientist who reviewed the Earth attack footage frame by frame. He discovered inconsistencies in the speed of the explosions, shadows pointing the wrong direction, and a missing hour in the timestamp. He reported it to the Council. They erased his research. They shut down his lab. They threatened his life. But by then, it was too late. The truth had spread underground, shared secretly between journalists, analysts, and even a few council members who realized the galaxy had just made the gravest political mistake in its history. And yet, Earth still remained silent. They did not deny the accusation. They did not release counter-evidence. They did not expose the Council. They let the galaxy believe the lie. Because humanity understood something the Council did not. Truth didn't matter right now. Revenge did not matter right now. Pain did not matter right now. Preparation did. And Earth was preparing for something the galaxy could not comprehend. While the rest of the galaxy mocked humanity, Earth's silence grew heavier, deeper, darker, like a thick fog spreading across every star system. Council psychics began reporting nightmares about red skies and dark fleets. Council generals felt uneasy without knowing why. Even neutral species started whispering, "Why hasn't Earth responded? Why are the humans so quiet?" And then the first human embassy ship reached Earth and landed. The Terran president stepped outside, looking at the sky as if she carried the weight of 10 billion souls on her back. Her advisors asked, "What is your order?" She did not hesitate. "Begin the activation sequence," she said. And with those words, everything changed. Beneath Earth's crust, massive magnetic rings began to spin. Cities dimmed as energy diverted to deep-core reactors. Ships aligned in strange formations. And somewhere beneath Antarctica, a colossal machine that no one alive had ever seen before opened a single glowing eye. The Council still insisted humans were panicking, overreacting, showing weakness. But every human knew the truth. Earth was not breaking. Earth was becoming something. Something older. Something stronger. Something more dangerous than the galaxy ever dreamed. And in the final hours of their forced retreat, every human world turned its lights off, not because they feared the galaxy. Humanity's silence became the loudest sound in the galaxy. At first, the Council mistook it for surrender, believing humans were ashamed or afraid, believing Earth was bending under political pressure like a weak branch snapping in wind. But soon, the silence stopped feeling like weakness. It began feeling like something else, something heavy, something ancient, something waiting. Human space grew darker every hour. Broadcast signals faded one by one. Terran trade routes went cold. Stargates connected to human borders shut down completely, leaving thousands of ships stranded with no explanation. The Council tried contacting Earth through emergency channels. No answer. They tried sending envoys. No response. They tried using psychic links through telepathic species. Nothing. Every attempt to communicate hit the same wall. Absolute, perfect silence. That silence frightened the galaxy far more than any weapon ever had. Because humans were not a silent species. They argued. They debated. They raged. They cried. They spoke loudly and lived loudly. For them to be this quiet meant something inside them had changed. Something deep, painful, and irreversible. Inside the Terran borders, however, the truth was far more terrifying than the outside world realized. The silence wasn't emptiness. It was focus, sharp, unbroken focus. Humanity had turned inward. Across Earth and its colonies, billions of people paused their lives not from fear, but from unity. A unity the galaxy had never seen before. Every human home dimmed its lights. Every human city redirected power. Every scientist packed away peaceful research and opened warrior archives sealed for centuries. In quiet apartments and abandoned labs, old engineers whispered to their nervous assistants, "I hoped this day would never come." Under the oceans, deep water reactors powered up after generations of sleep. On the dark side of the moon, armored doors opened to reveal massive machines built in secret during humanity's hardest years. Across Mars, long-buried silos hummed as red lights blinked awake, turning the rusted planet into a slow-beating heart. On Titan, in a facility no one outside Earth knew existed, ancient Terran AI cores, too powerful, too unpredictable, were reactivated under strict human control. And throughout all of this awakening, humanity did not speak a single word to the galaxy. They spoke only to each other, in hushed tones filled with betrayal and determination. A father told his son, "They blamed us for a crime we didn't do." A soldier told her squad, "They wanted us weak." A scientist whispered, "They thought we would bow." And each time, the answer was the same, spoken with a quiet fury, "Not anymore." Meanwhile, the galaxy tried to convince itself that everything was normal. News channels declared Earth isolating itself out of guilt. Council officials assured citizens that humans were breaking under pressure. Influencers joked online, humans too emotional to handle politics. But deep down, every species felt something shifting, like the universe was holding its breath. Especially when reports began coming from worlds near human space. Ships traveling near Terran borders felt strange gravitational pulses, like space itself was bending and adjusting. Patrol fleets detected massive energy readings beneath Earth's surface, far greater than anything used in the last century. One scientific vessel reported seeing a faint red glow rising through Earth's atmosphere, like the world itself was waking up. The Council ignored these warnings, too arrogant to admit they may have made a terrible mistake. "Humans are bluffing," the High Chancellor insisted. "They will break." But inside human space, no one was breaking. They were sharpening. In a deep Terran bunker, hidden beneath layers of secure metal and old war stone, a group of ancient human strategists gathered around a circular hologram displaying the entire galaxy. Their faces carried the weight of countless generations, people who remembered humanity's oldest lessons, people whose ancestors survived burning skies, frozen winters, global wars, and extinction threats. One of them, an old general with silver hair and steel eyes, whispered, "They pushed us. Again." Another nodded, her voice low but powerful. And as always, they expect us to shout. But we won't, the general responded. We learned a long time ago. Shouting only makes enemies louder. Silence makes them listen. Above them, Earth rotated slowly on the hologram. Blue, green, beautiful, glowing faintly red from the activation of hidden systems beneath the crust. A younger officer stared anxiously at the map. Why not speak to the council? She asked. Why not show them the truth? Why not release evidence that we are innocent? The old general turned to her, his eyes carrying memories of too many betrayals. They would not listen, he said softly. And we are done begging to be believed. He leaned closer to the hologram. They will learn through action, not words. Meanwhile, in every Terran academy, soldiers trained in complete silence. Thousands of them moving like a single machine, their footsteps perfectly aligned, their faces determined. It wasn't anger that drove them. It was clarity. The clarity of betrayal. The clarity of purpose. The clarity of knowing the galaxy had crossed a line. And at the heart of Earth, within a spherical chamber lined with red crystal, a machine older than the Council itself began to spin. Slow at first. Then faster still. It pulsed like a heartbeat, deep, ancient, and powerful, sending quiet ripples through space. Ripples the Council's sensors detected. Ripples they pretended not to see. Ripples humanity allowed them to feel. Because that machine was the core of Earth's silent preparation. A core connected to the project the Council feared but had forgotten. A name whispered centuries ago in war. A name spoken by Terran leaders only in moments of deepest danger. A name that explained everything. The first sign that Earth's silence had transformed into something far more dangerous came not from a battle, not from a speech, not from a human soldier roaring into the galaxy, but from a lonely Council outpost stationed on the edge of Terran space. A small research facility built to watch human movements, manned by scientists who believed they were safe because they were far from any battlefield. They spent their days studying gravitational waves, monitoring star clusters, and mocking Earth's childish tantrum from afar. But on the 12th night after Earth went silent, one of the outpost's junior analysts noticed something strange. A soft, repeating pulse coming from deep inside Terran territory. At first, she thought it was a glitch, a sensor echo, maybe a dying satellite. But the pulse grew stronger, steadier. She tried filtering it. It became louder. She tried isolating it. It became clearer. And then she saw it. Not a ship. Not a missile. Not a weapon. A sphere. A small metallic sphere drifting out of Terran space like a forgotten relic. Smooth, black, cold, silent. No heat signatures, no energy output, nothing alive inside. But something about it felt wrong. Like the calm before a storm that had been waiting centuries to break. The analyst reported it immediately to the outpost director. He laughed and said humans were sending toys to scare the Council. But when he tried to scan the object, every screen in the room flickered red. Not glitching. Changing color deliberately. The sphere drifted closer. Its surface reflected nothing. Not stars, not light, not the beacon shining from the outpost. It was like staring into a hole punched through reality itself. The outpost panicked. They tried sending messages to the Council. Their messages bounced back. They tried activating shields. Their shields collapsed like thin paper. They tried firing a warning shot. The cannon powered down on its own. That was when fear settled into their bones. Not because the sphere attacked, but because it didn't need to. It simply existed, and everything around it broke. The sphere stopped drifting once it reached the exact center of the outpost's long-range sensor array, as if it knew precisely where it needed to be. And then, without warning, it changed color. Red. A deep, burning, blood-red glow pulsed from its center, spreading slow at first, then faster, until the entire outpost was bathed in the glow of a dying star. The scientists screamed and tried shutting down power, but the systems were no longer theirs. Every machine responded to the sphere. Every light turned red. Every scanner froze. Every alarm died. Then the outpost director, trembling, realized the horrifying truth. It's not attacking us, he whispered. "It's turning the sky red." Outside the windows, the stars themselves seemed to dim behind the crimson pulse. Navigation systems failed. Timekeeping devices malfunctioned. Artificial gravity weakened. Even the rotation of the outpost slowed slightly, as if space itself were bending to the sphere's presence. The scientists watched helplessly as the sky, real cosmic sky, shifted colors around them. Not metaphorically. Not artistically. Literally. The stars flickered red because the sphere disrupted the wavelength of light in its radius. It didn't destroy. It controlled. And the worst part wasn't the fear, or the light, or the silence. It was the message that came after. A message no one expected. A message with no sound, no words, no broadcast. The red glow faded. The sphere cracked. And inside it was a hologram, soft, steady, unmistakably human. It was not a threat, not a warning, not a demand. It was an eye. A single human eye, watching the outpost with calm, cold intelligence. Then the hologram blinked. A slow, deliberate blink that carried more menace than any weapon. And the outpost went dark. Every light shut off. Every engine died. Every communication system collapsed. The scientists floated in silence, stranded, powerless, terrified, understanding too late what the sphere truly was, an announcement. A message written without words. When rescue teams finally arrived days later, they found the outpost perfectly intact. No damage. No deaths. No violence. Only one thing had changed. Every screen in the facility displayed the same phrase in deep crimson letters. "You framed us." Those 3 words spread across the galaxy faster than the sphere ever could. Panic surged through Council command centers. Generals ordered fleets to prepare. Diplomats begged Earth for clarification. Analysts replayed the sphere event over and over. And every species felt the same cold realization settle inside their bones. Earth had something ancient. Something powerful. Something the Council feared but never believed truly existed. Crimson Sky was real. But no one knew what it meant. No one knew what Earth was preparing. And no one understood why humans had shown restraint when they could have destroyed the outpost with a whisper. The Council High Chancellor slammed his fist on the table. "This changes nothing," he shouted. "Earth is bluffing." But deep inside, even he didn't believe that. Because the message wasn't the threat. The message was the silence that followed. Earth did not gloat. Earth did not explain. Earth did not repeat the warning. They simply allowed the galaxy to shake under the weight of their quiet retaliation. And the stars near human space still flickered red long after the sphere had gone. Species began whispering in fear, "If this is Earth's calm response, what will their anger look like?" And just like that, every galaxy empire understood a terrifying truth. The Council thought the sphere incident was a warning, a strategic scare tactic from an angry but contained species, something they could still dismiss or spin in the media as human theatrics. But that illusion shattered the moment their largest war fleet crossed the border into Terran space. The fleet was a symbol of Council pride. Hundreds of ships lined with plasma cannons, quantum shields glowing bright blue, and AI-guided drones ready to swarm anything foolish enough to resist. They expected a confrontation. They expected human missiles, human railguns, human fighters rushing forward to protect their borders. But instead, the moment the first ship crossed into Terran space, everything changed. The stars turned red again. Not like before, this time far brighter, far wider, stretching across the entire region of space like a cosmic heartbeat pulsing through the void. Council captains shouted in confusion as navigation systems spiraled out of control. Star maps twisted, gravitational anchors disconnected, and steering thrusters failed to respond. It was as if space itself had turned into a shifting maze of light and shadow. Then came the sound, a low, deep hum that vibrated through the hulls, through the floors, through the bones of every soldier aboard. A hum that felt ancient, wrong, and impossibly human. Some soldiers collapsed, clutching their heads, describing visions of red storms and burning skies. Others stood frozen, realizing the hum wasn't inside their minds. It was coming from the ships themselves. Systems were sinking to something unseen, something inside Terran space. Suddenly all engines shut down. Weapons powered off. Shields collapsed like soap bubbles bursting. The fleet drifted like dead metal in space, unable to move, unable to communicate, unable to do anything but watch as the darkness around them shifted. A captain screamed, "We're being hacked." Another shouted, "It's impossible. No one can hack us through a full shield." But it wasn't a hack. It wasn't a virus. It wasn't an attack. It was a presence. A shadow moved behind the red haze, a human ship, but not like any the galaxy had seen before. It wasn't silver. It wasn't white. It wasn't even black. It was completely invisible, hidden inside the red distortion, only revealing itself when the light bent around its hull. And when it did, every soldier aboard the Council fleet felt their breath freeze. The ship was silent. Perfectly silent. No engine flare. No weapon heat signature. No energy output detectable. A ghost in the void. A predator in stillness. The Council Admiral tried to hail it, voice trembling. "This is an unauthorized border intrusion. Identify yourselves." No answer. The Admiral repeated the message, louder, desperate. "Identify yourselves." And then, finally, a voice replied. "Calm, cold, deep, human. We know who you are." The Admiral swallowed hard. "Then state your intentions." A long, terrifying silence followed. Then the voice returned, softer now. "Observation." A chill ran through every soldier. Observation? The Council fleet was trapped, disabled, helpless, and the humans were simply watching. The Admiral tried to demand an explanation, but before he could finish, the red haze shifted again. More shadows appeared. More silent ships. Dozens. Hundreds. All drifting effortlessly through the crimson field, like sharks circling wounded prey. Yet none fired a shot. None powered weapons. None took an aggressive stance. They only surrounded the fleet, cutting off every escape route. The Admiral screamed, "Why aren't you attacking?" The human voice answered, "We do not attack first." The Admiral shouted, "You disabled our ships." "To stop you from dying," the human replied. The Admiral froze. Every officer stared at their screens. What did that mean? Why would humans stop them from dying? The answer came when the red haze flickered again, this time revealing something that made even the bravest warriors tremble. Behind the Council fleet, far deeper inside Terran space, enormous shapes floated in perfect formation. The shapes were too large to be ships, too silent to be stations, too old to be new machines. They looked like massive sleeping beasts carved from metal, their surfaces glowing with faint red markings. They were not built for battle. They were built for extinction. Ancient human war machines. Forgotten by the galaxy. Remembered by Earth. The Admiral stared, horrified. What are those?" The human voice answered with chilling simplicity, "Tools." "Tools for what?" the Admiral whispered. "For what comes after betrayal," the human said. The Council fleet trembled. They realized the horrifying truth. If the humans had chosen to activate those machines, the entire fleet would have been erased from existence before they could even scream. But the humans didn't activate them. They only let the Council see them. Because this wasn't about destruction. This was about power. Control. Message. One human ship drifted closer to the Council flagship, slow and deliberate, until its shadow covered the entire command deck. Officers clutched their seats. Someone whispered in terror, "The humans, they're not angry." And that was the most frightening thing of all. Because anger meant shouting. Anger meant chaos. Anger meant emotion. But humans were quiet. Too quiet. The human voice spoke again, nearly a whisper. "You framed us. You lied. You forced us into silence. Now you will understand what silence means." Then the red haze vanished. The human ships vanished. The stars returned to normal. Systems rebooted. Engines reignited. Shields restored. And the Council fleet was left drifting alone, unharmed but deeply shaken, with only a single message blinking across every ship's main screen: no threat. No warning. No violence. Just two simple words that carried more force than any weapon. When the fleet returned, the galaxy trembled. Because if this was humanity restraining itself, the truth hit the galaxy like a silent meteor. No explosion, no bright light, no sudden shockwave, just a slow, terrifying realization spreading across worlds like a dark fog crawling under doors. It began when a whistleblower inside the Drath Syndicate leaked a data chip to the neutral media hub on Yulna Prime, an old station known for exposing corruption. The chip contained everything: raw footage, unedited recordings, energy readings, voice logs, even internal Drath transmissions bragging about framing humans to weaken Earth's influence. The lie that started the crisis, the attack humans were blamed for, was exposed in brutal clarity. The footage clearly showed Drath warships firing the first shot, destroying a peaceful convoy, then editing the data to make it appear Terran. The galaxy was stunned. Billions watched the real footage on public displays, their eyes widening in disbelief as they realized the humans were innocent. The Council tried to shut it down. They tried blocking broadcasts, silencing reporters, erasing evidence. But it was too late. Once truth leaks into the galaxy, it spreads like wildfire, unstoppable, uncontrollable, burning everything in its path, including those who tried to hide it. Protests erupted on dozens of Council worlds. Riots broke out. Citizens threw stones at government buildings, shouting, "Return justice to Earth, and we trusted you." Entire regions demanded accountability. Council guards struggled to contain the outrage, but for every protest they suppressed, 10 more began. Even Council soldiers muttered among themselves, realizing they had pointed guns at the wrong species. Across the galaxy, children asked their parents, why did they lie about the humans? But the parents had no answer. Meanwhile, inside the Council chambers, panic grew like a living creature. The High Chancellor screamed at his advisors, "Why wasn't I informed? Why did no one tell me the evidence was fake?" But the truth was even more terrifying. Several high-ranking Council members did know. They hid the truth because admitting it would collapse their power. Now that truth was crushing them anyway. Member worlds withdrew support. Some declared neutrality. Some demanded new leadership. Many simply turned their backs on the Council completely. And in that chaos, their greatest fear rose like a shadow behind them. What will humanity do now that the truth is out? Council spies attempted to enter Terran space to deliver apologies and negotiate peace, but not a single spy ship returned. Not because humans destroyed them, but because every ship became lost in a thick crimson field of distorted space, drifting helplessly until human drones collected them and pushed them back across the border like trash tossed out of a home. Humanity didn't want talks. Humanity didn't want apologies. Humanity wanted nothing from them. That silence terrified the Council more than any declaration ever could. A Council general slammed his fist on the strategy table. "If the humans attack now, our fleets cannot stop them." Another officer whispered, "But they are not attacking," and that was the real horror. Humans were not preparing for war. They were preparing for justice. And justice, true justice, was slow, patient, precise. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Terran president stood before the Global Assembly. Not with anger. Not with rage. Not with demands for war. She simply displayed the leaked footage on a massive screen. Billions of humans watched in silence as the truth played out. The attack, the deception, the betrayal, the Council approving sanctions knowing the evidence was false. Many humans cried. Many clenched their fists. Many looked away in pain. But no one shouted. No one demanded revenge. No one called for destruction. Instead, the president spoke 3 calm words: "We are done." Those words traveled deeper than any war cry. They echoed across oceans, mountains, starports, colonies. They became a vow spoken by every human heart. We are done being manipulated. We are done being scapegoats. We are done being quiet victims. In the shadows of the Crimson Sky Machine, still glowing beneath Earth's crust, ancient Terran AIS completed their calculations. Human fleets across dozens of systems synchronized their formations without a single spoken order. Entire battle groups aligned with mathematical precision only a civilization united by pain could achieve. And still, humanity said nothing to the galaxy. They just worked. Quietly. Efficiently. Unstoppably. Council diplomats begged, "Earth, please respond." Their messages echoed into empty void. No answer. Humanity, we are sorry. Silence. We admit the truth. Silence. We need peace. Silence. Every unanswered message was a blade to their hearts. Then came the final blow, another broadcast from Yulna Prime, showing scenes from Eden 5, where humans had evacuated colonies peacefully despite being innocent. A small human boy looked into the camera and said, "Why did they blame us? We didn't do anything wrong." That clip broke the galaxy's heart. Even species who once feared humanity now defended them fiercely. Leave the humans alone. They are not the enemy. The Council is corrupt. The galaxy turned against its own leadership. Yet humanity remained distant, watching, waiting, planning. Not for revenge, for balance, for justice, for the moment the galaxy realized the full weight of what they had done. Because humans were not preparing to destroy the Council. The moment arrived without an alarm, without an explosion, without a single Terran ship firing a shot. Yet it became the most terrifying moment in recorded galactic history. It began with a soft ripple in space, like a quiet breath released by the universe after holding it for too long. Every sensor in Council territory picked it up, every long-range scanner flashed warning red, every military station reported the same impossible reading. Something enormous was moving through Terran space, without generating detectable energy. Scientists shouted that it violated physics. Admirals panicked and demanded visual confirmation. Politicians cried sabotage. But when the first images finally loaded, the entire Council chamber fell silent. Rising from behind a crimson-shaded nebula was a human fleet, but not the fleet the galaxy knew. These ships were nothing like the shiny silver cruisers used in trade routes or the old warrior vessels displayed in museums. These were Leviathans, massive, black-red structures drifting through space like sleeping beasts with glowing cores, each one the size of a small moon, built with ancient Terran alloys that reflected no light and absorbed every scan. They made no sound. They broadcast no signals. They flew without engine flares. They moved as if the space around them bent in submission. And yet, they did not aim weapons. They did not lock targets. They simply existed, and their existence alone was enough to make the galaxy tremble. Panic spread instantly. Entire Council worlds shut down their civilian networks. Military fleets scrambled to defensive positions. Stations activated planetary shields. Citizens screamed as red light washed across their night skies, not from fire or bombs, but from the reflection of Terran hulls passing peacefully across the starfields. It was the first time in history that presence alone became a weapon. The Council ordered emergency broadcasts, shouting, "Earth, do not engage. Earth, we request negotiation. Earth, we hear you." But humanity remained silent. The Red fleets drifted further into Council space, not attacking, not threatening, not destroying, just disabling every military system in their path with quiet, effortless precision. A single Terran ship passed a Council battle station, and the station shut down instantly, its shields dropping, its engines cooling, its weapons freezing like a toy with dead batteries. But the humans didn't fire. They didn't board. They didn't even slow down. They simply moved on. That frightened the Council more than destruction ever could. Because destruction meant anger. This meant domination. The High Chancellor collapsed into his chair, whispering, "Why aren't they attacking? What do they want?" But even he knew the answer now. They wanted the galaxy to understand what it meant to betray Earth. And humanity would deliver that understanding without spilling a single drop of blood. On the outer rim, a Council dreadnought, the most powerful ship in their navy, stood in the path of a Terran Crimson vessel. The dreadnought captain shouted, terrified, "Human ship, if you continue forward, you will collide with us." But the Terran ship did not change course. It drifted straight toward them, slow, calm, inevitable. The dreadnought fired a warning shot. The beam vanished mid-space. They fired again. The missile turned into harmless dust. A third time. Nothing. The dreadnought tried to move out of the way, but gravity itself shifted. The Terran ship bent space gently, pushing the dreadnought aside without even touching it, like a hand moving a leaf across water. When the dreadnought spun out of the path, powerless and shaking, every crew member understood. Humans could crush them with a whisper, but chose not to end the Council's emergency bunker. Diplomats cried as they watched their fleets fall apart without a fight. "Why aren't they talking to us?" they begged. "Why aren't they answering?" The Terran president finally appeared, not in person, not with sound, but as a silent projection over the galaxy. Her image showed only her standing beneath a sky glowing red from Earth's awakening machines. No speech, no threat, no anger, only her presence. And behind her, a message appeared in giant red text projected onto every screen in the galaxy. "We do not want war, we want truth." The words pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Then another line formed below. "You framed us, you punished us, you betrayed us." Across the galaxy, children wept. Adults bowed their heads. Soldiers removed their helmets. Entire species watched in guilt, knowing humanity spoke the truth. The final line appeared, "We did not come to destroy you, we came to stop you." And with that, the Crimson fleets froze in perfect formation. Thousands of ships aligned like a warning drawn across the stars. Not a threat. Not an attack. A message. A red line across the galaxy. A line no empire would ever dare cross again. Species who once mocked humanity now stared in awe. Empires who feared human rise now bowed before human restraint. And in every heart, one truth settled like a burning star: Earth had the power to end them, but chose justice instead of violence. That decision changed the galaxy forever. Because in that moment, every species understood the real danger was not humanity's power, it was humanity's silence. And the day the stars turned red was the day the galaxy finally understood. When the Crimson fleets froze across the stars like a silent wall dividing truth from betrayal, the galaxy held its breath, not for minutes, not for hours, but for days. Species stayed indoors. Traders stopped their routes. War rooms remained paralyzed. The Council sat in stunned silence, staring at maps that no longer mattered and ships they no longer controlled. They waited for an attack that never came. Humanity didn't fire a single weapon. Not one. Instead, the Terran fleets drifted like ancient guardians, their red cores glowing softly, pulsing in unison with the heartbeat of a civilization that had been pushed too far. And that pulsing glow, steady and calm, became the most terrifying sight the galaxy had ever witnessed, because it meant Earth was not full of rage. Earth was full of purpose. In the Council chambers, the High Chancellor slumped forward, aged by fear alone, whispering, "We have lost everything." Around him, other officials argued, cried, begged, and pointed fingers. "We must surrender," one shouted. "They have not asked for surrender," another said, trembling. "They haven't asked for anything," a third whispered. "That is what frightens me." Finally, after days of desperate silence, the Terran president appeared again. But this time her image did not cover the galaxy. It appeared only in the Council hall. Only for the ones responsible. She stood in a room of red crystal, her expression calm, unreadable, not triumphant, not vengeful, just tired. Tired of holding back. Tired of being accused. Tired of being quiet while the galaxy painted humans as monsters. Behind her, the Crimson Sky machine pulsed like an ancient heart. The president spoke 3 words, voice soft but sharp: "You broke trust." There was no anger in her tone, but every council member flinched as if she had struck them. "You framed us," she continued. "You punished us without listening. You endangered billions for politics." Her eyes grew colder. "You wanted us powerless." The Chancellor tried to speak, but she raised her hand. Silence pressed down like gravity. "We are not here to destroy you," she said. "If that were our goal, you would already be dust." A tremor ran through every delegate. "We are here," she said quietly, "to end the era of your lies." The red fleets shifted slightly overhead, just enough to remind the galaxy that Earth did not need weapons to rule. It had truth. It had unity. It had strength. And it had silence so heavy that no empire dared interrupt it. Across the galaxy, worlds that once bowed to the Council raised their voices. Earth is innocent. Earth deserves justice. The Council betrayed all of us. The Council collapsed in a single vote, member after member withdrawing support until the great chamber dimmed and the ancient holographic crest of the Council flickered and died. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy had no central power. Only a void. A void Earth had the power to fill, but didn't. Instead, humanity stepped back. The Terran president spoke to the galaxy, her message reaching all worlds at once. "We will not rule you," she said. "We will not lead you. We will not dominate you." Billions stared, stunned. Leaders asked, "Then what do you want?" She answered with the one thing no empire expected: "We want you to never repeat what you did to us." The stars dimmed as the Crimson fleets powered down, returning slowly to Terran space, drifting home like red spirits returning to their cradle. No bombs. No invasions. No conquests. Only a warning etched across the galaxy's memory. Earth is peaceful. Not weak. Never weak. Years later, historians would describe that day, the day the stars turned red, as the moment the galaxy woke up. The moment they understood that power was not measured by destruction, but by restraint, not by volume, but by silence, not by dominance, but by justice. And on a quiet night on Earth, long after the fleets returned to their hidden docks, the Terran president walked alone to the top of the global tower. She looked at the stars, knowing every world watched humanity differently now, with respect, with caution, with fear. A young soldier approached her hesitantly. "Do you think they will try to betray us again?" he asked. She watched the sky for a long moment. The stars reflected in her eyes, red fading into calm silver. "Some will," she said softly, "but they will remember what follows betrayal." The soldier nodded, understanding. Behind them, deep underground, the Crimson Sky machine dimmed slowly, entering quiet sleep once more, like an ancient guardian returning to its rest after protecting its people. The Terran president whispered, "Let it sleep. Let the galaxy heal." And as the sun rose over Earth, warming oceans and mountains and thousand-year forests, a truth settled into history forever. Humanity did not seek to rule the stars. Humanity simply taught the stars to never underestimate them again. And in the quiet glow of the returning dawn, the galaxy finally understood who humanity truly was. A force that rises only when pushed. A fire that burns only when betrayed. A storm that speaks only when silence fails. The Council had gone too far. And Earth's answer had turned the stars red. A warning the galaxy would never forget.